Hello. Sorry. This is Dr. Jason Munsell. How are you? It is almost 1 o'clock, Thursday afternoon, July 14th, in the year of our Lord 2016. It's amazing, isn't it? Started graduate school 20 years ago. It's amazing. In any case, hi. My delicious Hardee's. This is a brand new one. I left the other one in the classroom, I think. I enjoyed our class last night. Hope that you were learning lots. What I'm going to do today in this very brief online lecture is to take you through a few chapters as illustrated in the course schedule. One thing that I neglected to do, I think, last time, I just sort of said I would let, last time as in yesterday, let Ms. Hood's stuff stand on its own. But one thing I wanted to do is just to indicate, obviously, that there are guidelines that she put up, but it does say COM 100, and so realize that this is not COM 100, this is LA 2211, but it's generally the same thing. LA 2211 in a way is sort of the evening version of COM 100, though we do cover different things and we do different things. But a lot of these, the first set of links are lots of various places where you can actually find great speeches. And so one of the things that I said yesterday, was if you were having difficulty finding a topic, but it sounds like most all of you have a topic, but you can find speeches first and then find a topic, or vice versa. I mean, if you have a topic but you cannot find a particular speech to talk about in your speech, because that's going to be an important part of your speech, these are some really good sites. And then there's just a lot of biography and context. I mean, that would be a great place to find basic information about your topic. There are biographical databases, opposing viewpoints that actually will be unbelievably important for your persuasive speech and paper. In-depth articles and analysis. So there's a couple of links to journals, and then of course you can go and search for books and ebooks, and so there's lots of stuff on here. And so this should really, really help you out with your research, because I'm leaving a lot of this up to you, right? I mean, I can talk about this stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to do your work. And so you have to pick the topic, start reading, figure out what your themes are going to be, or what your main points are going to be, what you want to focus on, and go from there. Also, I think I mentioned this, but I put a lot of stuff on bookmarks for you to look through for your writing. I've sort of stressed this before. I mean, this, I think, I don't know, I can't remember. You know, this class is not necessarily meant to just rehash sort of commas. But some of the big things that I really want you to learn when it comes to improving your writing is to improve how you write your topic sentences for paragraphs, how you sort of develop the paragraph and use transition phrases and words. I want you to learn how to write a first person, and I want you to learn how to write an active voice, and I want you to learn how to cite parenthetically and works cited in MLA. And if we do that, solid gold. So yeah, I put some stuff that you should look at so far as improving your writing skills, and then again, new stuff from the librarian. What I'm going to do first is talk about chapter 12, and then I got a little exercise for you that you can do at home. I'm all about, you know, your weekend plans here. I got a lot of ideas for you. And of course, I know that you can read, and so you'll probably be reading chapters 12, 13, sort of 14, 15, and 16, and all that type of stuff. That's going to be fun. I'm just going to say a few things and highlight some things And so it sort of follows, some of the stuff I say sort of follows what the book has to say, but not really. That's mainly. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but I have put these new PowerPoints on, and so you can either sort of see them through this very unprofessional home version, amateur, well, I'm not amateur, I'm a professional, I'm getting paid for this actually, lecture, online lecture, but okay, organization. Organization is pretty, and so is this PowerPoint. It's lovely. Okay. Organizational skills generally, both for writing and for speaking, is important. You need to, and it's really, remember, it's one of the canons of rhetoric. And so generally folks will understand a well-organized speech and paper much better. And you want folks, particularly for an informative speech, but also for persuasive speech and papers, to understand what you're talking about. Yeah. And also if things are organized and easy to follow, it adds to your own competence and your own credibility. The audience or the reader will see you as a more competent person. You perhaps have been in a lecture or heard a speech or read a paper and it was all disorganized and discombobulated, and it's like, you start thinking about your weekend. Messy organization that can turn off an audience or a reader. They not only will not like you as speaker or writer, but they will, again, I'm thinking about whatever I'm going to do next summer. So again, it's all about being audience centered, and so some of the things to think about is how do you organize your stuff so not just you understand it, but the reader or the audience understands it. But organizational skills, generally speaking, are very important. But what are the basics? In contemporary times, right here now, though things were not always this way, it all depends on context. But we tend to think of things like speeches or papers, in a sense, in three sections: introduction, body, and conclusion. Yeah. Rocket science. Rocket science actually isn't rocket science, but it is. Main points reside in the body of your of the speech or the paper. So you have an introduction, you have to do certain things, and then you have the body with main points, then you have your conclusion. Right. And all your main propositions, or sub-propositions, I should say, like sub-points, sub-sub-points, sub-sub-sub-points, all that type of stuff that supports your thesis, all that stuff is in the body of your speech, your paper. And you generally find those main points through, obviously, your focus once you have read all the stuff and you figured out what your specific purpose is to inform my audience about how Taylor Swift toured for her 1989 album. And then you do research. You should have no more than 5 points, main points, no matter how long your speech is, if it's an hour long. 3 is usually the magic number. 2 is fine as well. In the example outline that I have given you, I do have 2 main points, or the student has 2 main points there. And that's cool. That's cool with me. But 3 oftentimes is the magic number. And there are tons of different organizational strategies, and you can read that. But again, for the informative speech, as I said last night, we're looking at 2 options really. Topical, those are subcategories, or chronological, going through time. This happened first, then this happened second, this happened third, this sort of led to this sort of led to this, which is very similar in my mind to narrative structure. Okay, so there's some basics. But organizational skills generally are very hard to teach, because it's like that $200,000 pyramid stuff. We have to use our brain to see what things go in what categories, blah, 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 blah. So, you remember this game, right? The quiz show here, the pyramid show. Somebody would say like a desk, a chalkboard, teacher. And then the other person would say things in the classroom, because all those things fit in the classroom. And so that's how that logic goes. And so when you have a main point, everything underneath that point, the sub-point, the sub-sub-point should be in or support that particular point. If you have a point on, I don't know, let me think of JFK's work with civil rights. You know, that could be one main point. JFK worked hard to advance civil rights. Then everything in that area is going to be about civil rights, right? So that's how that sort of works, obviously. And did you know that Donny Osmond was the $2,000 Pyramid host from 2002 and 2004? He's a little bit country. Marie, I think, is a little bit rock and roll, or vice versa. I don't know. We're all a little bit country, we're a little bit rock and roll, a little bit everything. Okay. Other random points, keep main points separate ideationally. These are really good ideas, and so this is where I'm referring to the book. Restrict each main point to a single idea, and it has some examples there on page 97. Use the same pattern of wording. That will help the listeners, particularly within a speech, sort of understand and remember that this is the main point. So that's really important. I like the quick tip on page 97 that depending on your situation, you can save sort of the most interesting information for last or first. I'll let you read the stuff on the recency effect and primacy effect. But some interesting thing there about organizing your main point and thinking about the audience. Stuff about support. Again, supporting points simply offer evidence and detail to the main points, as we discussed last night. One of the things that I want you to do, and remember, I'm wanting you to bring a rough draft of your outline on Monday, is I do want you to use the indentation Roman numerals that are described in here. This is the set way of doing it. So it talks about this on page 98. Main point, Roman numeral 1, supporting point A, first subpoint, and then 1, little a and b, on down the line. And it gives you some examples. And then, you know, a lot of the other stuff I think is also important, but yeah, with the outline, make sure you do follow that particular pattern. More cool stuff. Table 12 is really important and cool. The checklist, do the main points flow. I'll let you read that. Or table 12.1. That's something we can do. Yeah, principles of coordination, subordination. Assign equal weight to ideas that are coordinated. Assign relatively less weight to ideas that are subordinate. Basic ideas. Then that checklist, and then stuff on transitions, I think is really important. One of the things, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, but I've already sort of talked about it when you're going to preview your points. First, I'm going to talk about this, but you're going to have transitions between the main points. So you're going to say, now that I've discussed my first main point, blah, 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 let me move to discuss my second main point, blah, blah, blah. So you can see page 102 on all these examples of transitions from point to point, using transitions to guide your listeners. It's really good information, so read that. And you don't want, at the end of the day, this is the big takeaway, you don't want, I don't know if you can see this, but actually eggs are really good for you, you know that. You don't want your outline to be scrambled, like scrambled eggs, although they're delicious. And so you want everything tidy, everything in its right place. I'm going to be a little bit anal. And so what I've done here, and this is one of the first things that you can do with your friends and family this weekend, if you so desire, I have a scrambled outline for you. This is not required. I know you can't see this, but you just do it if you want to. If you want to learn, if you care about your education, you can do it.